Have you ever wondered what happens when two vastly different worlds collide? Thousands of years ago, in the heart of Europe, a peaceful farming culture thrived, but on the horizon loomed a storm, a warlike people whose arrival would change history forever. By the mid-3rd millennium BCE, civilization was blossoming across the ancient world. The Fertile Crescent buzzed with the early city-states of Mesopotamia and Egypt. But far to the north, another remarkable story was unfolding. Along the river valleys of what is now modern Romania and Ukraine, the Kukuteni-Trypillia culture flourished. These people were farmers, crafting a life of simplicity and harmony with the land. Their settlements stretched across 3,000 square kilometers, making them among the largest in the world for their time. Villages evolved into sprawling towns, with some boasting populations of up to 30,000. The towns were constructed in vast oval patterns, with wooden homes encircling a central plaza, a layout that spoke of unity and shared purpose. But unlike their southern counterparts in Mesopotamia, the Kukuteni-Trypillia culture lacked rigid social hierarchies. Their society was egalitarian, their homes remarkably uniform in size. Even warfare seemed almost absent in their tranquil world. This peaceful existence sparked creativity. Archaeologists have uncovered small figurines of women throughout the region, tokens believed to represent a fertility goddess, the central figure of their spiritual life. These artifacts hint at a culture that revered balance, creation, and the nurturing forces of nature. Yet, peace is often fleeting, and the Kukuteni-Trypillia culture would soon face a challenge unlike anything they had encountered before. Just to the east, on the vast steppes of Eurasia, a very different culture was taking shape. The Yamnaya people were pastoralists, nomadic herders who roamed the harsh grasslands with their livestock. Unlike the egalitarian farmers of the Kukuteni-Trypillia, the Yamnaya were organized around strict hierarchies. At the top stood warrior elites who lived by the sword. For them, war was a way of life, a devotion to their clan and their god, the Sky Father, a deity of power and order. While the Kukuteni-Trypillia built towns and worshipped creation, the Yamnaya sharpened weapons and revered conquest. Their contrasting ways of life would inevitably clash. By 3000 BCE, a changing climate dealt the Kukuteni-Trypillia culture a severe blow. As the earth grew colder and drier, their agricultural lifestyle became harder to sustain. Meanwhile, the Yamnaya thrived, adapting to the unforgiving conditions of the steppes. It wasn't long before the Yamnaya began pushing westward, encroaching on Kukuteni-Trypillia lands. Armed with stone axes and copper daggers, Yamnaya raiding parties descended upon the peaceful farming communities. Towns that had stood for centuries were abandoned or destroyed. Some Kukuteni people fled, while others were assimilated into the Yamnaya way of life. This was more than just a cultural clash. It was the birth of a new era. The Yamnaya brought with them not only their warlike traditions, but also their language, which linguists now call Proto-Indo-European. Over time, their influence spread far and wide. By the early 2nd millennium BCE, the descendants of the Yamnaya had given rise to new cultures across Europe and Asia. From the corded ware people in Central Europe to the ancestors of the Persians and Indians in the south, the Indo-Europeans reshaped the ancient world. Their innovations in warfare, like the chariot, gave them a decisive edge, enabling their cultures to dominate vast territories. They crossed rivers, scaled mountains, and forged connections that would shape the ethno-linguistic map of Europe and beyond. From the Volga River to the shores of the Atlantic, the descendants of the Yamnaya carried their legacy forward. They blended with the peoples they encountered, spreading their traditions, beliefs, and languages. By 1000 BCE, They had reached every corner of Europe and even parts of Asia, laying the foundation for many modern civilizations. The Kukuteni-Trypillia, once a beacon of peaceful innovation, had vanished. But their story reminds us of the fragility of even the most advanced societies and the unstoppable force of change. What does this ancient collision of cultures teach us? Perhaps it's a reminder that history is shaped not just by those who build, but also by those who conquer. And yet, every culture leaves its mark, no matter how brief its time in the sun. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.